Afternoon. So today I want to go through the steps to recreate this Lautrec print in uh, in digital form. So let's begin with the stone. So we'll talk more about the stone and its properties during the presentation, but for now I just want to go through all the steps. So we have the stone, and there are three ways on which the drawing can be done on the stone. One is directly by using crayons and brushes and other tools like that. The second is by transferring uh, a drawing or a sketch by drawing it on paper, and then um, like a carbon trace or a charcoal trace, we would transfer that onto the stone. The third is using a special type of paper called transfer paper. We'll talk about that during the presentation, but for now I'm going to use the sketch method. So this is a sketch on paper, um, and we're going to now assume that we've put charcoal on the back side of the paper, and we're going to rub that onto the stone. So when we do that, uh, this is what we should get. So we have a mirror image of the transfer on the stone. So just assume for now that these are uh, uh, charcoal remnants on the stone, and we're going to use this as a guide to draw over. And to make it more clear to you, I'm just going to change the color of this to blue, so it's in blue. And then on top of that we have the drawing that we're going to put. So Lautrec used mainly crayons. So crayons, just like in pencils, you have different grades depending upon hardness and the amount of content. So he used, like, I think it's called a number two, which is mid-range, where it's not very hard, it's not very soft, and so he wasn't very um, dynamic with regards to the amount of crayon grades that he used. But just to simulate that, it's let me bring back the drawing. So this is a drawing that I did over the transfer before preparing for the presentation. So I'm going to just obliterate some part of it like that, and then I'm just going to use a brush to redo that section. Right. So Lautrec would have worked through his drawings in a similar way that we are doing now, and he could have also just directly drawn um, on on the stone like that, right? Just draw directly on the stone, and then so he would have used crayons and brushes. And another thing to be mindful is of fingerprints. So we see it as black mainly because it's got black pigment in the crayon, but it's not the pigment that matters. It's more about the oily content that will be evident when we move on to the next slide. So if there was something like a fingerprint, for example, like that over here, you see that's fingerprint. So if that fingerprint, the oil within the fingerprint would register on the stone, and that would then show up in the final print. So it it doesn't it could be an unintentional deposit of oil through fingerprints. It doesn't have to be always intentional drawing through a pigment loaded crayon. I hope I didn't confuse you, but I just wanted you to be aware that it's the black color does not matter. It's the oil that matters. So we have this drawing, and then another process that Lautrec followed is called crushie, and he used crushie to build up tone by loading a toothbrush with ink, and then flicking the tip of that toothbrush with maybe blade or a nail cutter, and because the brushes of the toothbrush are rigid, when it springs back into position, it would fling the ink as little droplets onto the stone. So I'm going to recreate that using ink spray. And before he did that, he covered up sections of the stone either using a stencil or by using an oil repelling solution called gum arabic. So we'll talk more about gum arabic in the next chemical etch phase, but so these are the regions in red that he wanted to block out, that he did not want the ink to adhere to. So I'm going to just switch on the spray. I'm just going to spray through. I think you can see it, yeah. So I'm going to just quickly spray through that stream. Right, so now when I take off the stencil, you can see that those sections have stayed clean. So that's the process that Lautrec followed for Crushie. So now we have the drawing that we want with all the effects we need. So the next stage is etching. So etching is the real chemical phase of the lithography process, where so the stone is taken with the drawing on top, but at that moment the drawing is not permanent, it's not fixed onto the stone. So to sort of fix it, the stone is treated with a mixture of gum arabic and nitric acid. And what this combination does is it makes the areas of the stone that have ink water hating, and the regions where ink is not there, like the red regions, that becomes water loving. And since oil and water do not mix, they sort of remain separate to each other. So it'll be easier if I show you. So this is the picture where the colors, I chose these colors to be super contrasty so that it's very clear, where after the gum arabic and the nitric acid has been treated onto the surface, the areas in red are the ones that love ink, and the areas in green are the ones that love water. So think of it almost like Velcro things, where as soon as you put a drop of water, the green will latch onto it. If you put a drop of ink, the red region will latch onto it. Okay, so that's what makes lithography different from the other intaglio processes. So after we've etched it, the stone is permanently modified then at this stage, where now it's almost as if at the molecular level the stone has been modified because of the presence of the grease that was there in the crayons, right, at the molecular level. So then once it's sort of, how do I say this, fixed, then we can actually wash away or wipe away the ink. We don't need it anymore, and the remnant of the oily part of the crayon is now permanently bonded with the stone. So now I'm just going to wipe away the ink. So okay, you see that I've started to wipe away the ink, and you see a ghost image. I'm going to zoom in so you can see the ghost image that is left. So the ghost image is basically the result of the chemical bonding between the stone and the oil that was there in the crayon or the ink that we deposited using Crushie and using our brush. So this is the ghost image. So we've sort of now eliminated the black pigment, but we have the regions that are water loving. Like this is the water loving area, and the oil loving area are the ones with the lighter color, right? And now we can ink it, right? So to ink it, I'm just going to ink it with black. Same plate. So when we ink it now, the parts, let me zoom in on a part. So this part we know loves ink. So when I slide over with ink there, I think it should be clear, but in case it's not, just ask me questions during the presentation. So I'm now inking the stone. And that's it. So we've inked the stone. Yeah. So now there's nothing much else to do other than to print it. So it's the same process as for the other printmaking process. We pass it through a printing press. So we put a sort of padding between the press it, and the paper. And we'll talk once again more during the presentation. I hope it will be more of a question answer session. And then we get the proof. So this was the inked stone, and this is the proof that we get on paper. So I hope it's a little bit clearer after going through these steps. So let me know what I have to do to make it clearer, and depending upon the feedback, I can incorporate your comments into the video, and then we can do color. Color is just one tiny step. It's actually the exact same steps as monochrome. Like, the color doesn't matter. It's just that we printed using black ink for this stone. We could have printed using any color and then put that on top of this print to add color to it. So in the case of color, it's more about aligning the different drawings together on the stone and things like that. But chemically and process wise, it's exactly the same steps. Okay, bye.